Welcome to Pale Blue Pod, the astronomy podcast for people who are overwhelmed by the universe but want to be its friend.
Hey, that's us. I'm Dr. Moiya McTier. I'm an astrophysicist and a folklorist and a friend to the universe. Also a good friend to my bestie/co-host.
I'm Connie, bestie/co-host, overwhelmed by the universe and many other things, but I do want to be its friend.
You do. And I think you're getting closer to the universe every week, every day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel it in a variety of areas. Even in my games that I play, I'm like, oh, this one's about space. So I recognize little things. I was playing Outer Wilds the other day, and I got sucked into a black hole. And I was just thinking about, oh my gosh, Moiya, the accretion disk.
Oh, bestie.
Yeah. Look at me.
I'm so proud.
Look at me.
I'm so proud of you.
If I can do it, y'all can do it, guys.
This is proof it works. Misha, the editor of the podcast, and I did an episode on Outer Wilds where they played and I watched because I can't do the video games. And it was delightful to watch. So I'm glad you're playing it.
Yeah, it's very fun. Very spacey for those of you listening who like mythology and space. So I recommend the game and to check out that podcast episode.
Yes. So, bestie, I need your help today.
Okay.
I am doing a lecture on Thursday, later this week, about Mother Nature for Mother's Day.
Ah, that makes sense. Good timing.
So, this episode's going to come out, obviously, after we record it. But I am prepping this lecture, and I'm trying to find the balance between myth and science, and just some guidance on the general direction of the lecture would be very helpful.
Sure.
So, can I tell you what I have?
Please.
Okay, excellent. So I am thinking of starting with a Happy Mother's Day to all who celebrate. I know not all of us do.
Indeed.
Whatever your relationship to a human mother might be, we all have the same big mother, which is Mother Nature.
Mm-hmm.
I want to start first with, why do we celebrate Mother's Day a little bit? What's the history of the holiday? Do you know when it started?
I actually...
What year?
I feel like it's 1900 or early-ish 1900s.
Yes.
I don't remember the story. I feel like I've heard it before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the right time period. Mother's Day has 3 mothers, and 2 of them are related. It's a mother-daughter pair. Anne and Anna is the daughter, Jarvis. And then the third mother is Julia Ward Howe. And you okay?
I may have remembered why I know this story, and it may be because I did some research on it when I worked at the Daily News. So while you tell the story, I'm going to go see if it's a thing that I forgot that I knew about.
Excellent. Well, it was around the end of the Civil War, and war was brewing in the other parts of the world. And Anne Jarvis and Julia Ward Howe were like, we as mothers, as women, don't want there to be war and strife. So let's band together and do good for the community and do good for raising social morale as mothers. So in 1868, Anne Jarvis established the Mother's Friendship Day, where the mothers would be friends to the community. And then a couple years later, Julia Ward Howe made her Mother's Day proclamation, where she said, I earnestly ask that a general Congress of women without limit of nationality may be appointed to promote the alliance of the different nationalities, the amicable settlement of international questions, the great and general interests of peace. Which is really nice. It's all inclusive, all women everywhere, let's get together and promote peace. And that was in 1870. And that Mother's Day for Peace was celebrated in a few scattered places, like in Boston, for some number of years, but it wasn't official and it wasn't federal. So Anna Jarvis, Anne's daughter, in 1907 wanted to establish a Mother's Day to honor her mother. And that was taken up as a national holiday in 1914 when President Woodrow Wilson established it. And now we celebrate it on the second Sunday of every May.
Indeed. As I found that I did write an article about this for the Daily News, May 14th, 2017.
2017, a different world.
Yeah, exactly. No wonder I can't remember a thing. Yeah.
But it was a real time. I promise. That's evidence that 2017 existed.
It did.
So then I am going to transition from talking about Mother's Day to talking about Mother Nature and Mother Earth and the mythical origins of that. And I do have a fun transition slide that I'm planning.
Okay.
It's a White Chicks reference. And it's like so you want to talk about Mother Nature. I make myself laugh. That's what's important.
I need to see the slide, bestie.
Okay, yes, it's here. It's in the agenda for you.
Oh, amazing.
At the bottom.
I'm so excited. Yeah. That reaction is a teaser for those who, where can people find this picture?
We are making all of the slides for these lecture prep episodes available for patrons. You can join at patreon.com/palebluepod.
Please do, because Moiya's meme. This is what we need more of, Moiya's meme energy. So
Moiya's
sign
meme
up.
moments.
Moiya's meme moments. Sign up for Moiya's meme moments, because we're going to make that a thing. But you got to let us know, go.
And so that's my transition slide. I like to make people laugh in a transition. And then I'll go into the different goddesses around the world that have been the archetypal foundations for Mother Nature.
That makes sense.
I want to talk about Sumerian and Mesopotamian mythology to begin with, because that's where a lot of our mythology as a world starts. So have you heard of Tiamat?
No.
Okay, so Tiamat is a Mesopotamian creation goddess, and she is also portrayed as a kind of monstrous figure. But she actually, I didn't know this until I was researching for this lecture, she had an earlier, not counterpart, but there was a goddess named Nama who was a creation goddess in an earlier Mesopotamian civilization, before the Sumerians as opposed to the Akkadians or the Babylonians. And Nama was a creation deity. She created the universe, and she had no male counterpart, so she did it all on her own. And she was, in the few remaining texts we have about her, seemingly a nurturing maternal figure. Later on, in later Mesopotamian cultures, Tiamat replaces her as the creation deity. She, like Nama, represented the primordial sea, but Tiamat had a male counterpart. Tiamat was the primordial salt sea, and she had a counterpart named Apsu, who was the primordial fresh sea waters, or like the sweet waters. And when they mixed, their joining created other gods. And so Tiamat, with her consort Apsu, is the mother of all the gods and all other beings in creation.
Oh, but not of like the land?
1 second. Let me get there.
Okay.
So she has these children, the gods, and her consort, Apsu, gets angry that all of these children are making so much noise. So he goes to attack them.
These dang loud children.
Yes.
Shut these kids up. F them kids.
So I think that type of paternal archetype, you'll see that reflected in a lot of other mythologies in the world.
Funny.
But he then goes to attack his children in some way, or maybe prevent more children from being born. So his children rise up against him and either imprison him or go to kill him, which then angers Tiamat. So then she starts fighting against her children. And in different versions of Mesopotamian mythology, you get different people who eventually overthrow Tiamat, but eventually in the Enuma Elish, this like foundational text that we get from a later period in Mesopotamia, it is Marduk, this storm god, who vanquishes Tiamat and then rips her body in half, and like uses different parts of it to make different parts of the earth. So
that got violent.
Yes, it does. Her body is used to make the earth. Her ribs become the vault of heaven. Her weeping eyes, because she's just permanently crying, her weeping eyes become the sources for the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, and her tail, which is severed from her body because she has like a woman torso and some depictions a serpent-like tail, that becomes the Milky Way, the path of stars of the Milky Way.
Oh.
And then they make humans by mixing the blood of her most monstrous children together with the clay of the earth that is made from Tiamat's body, and they make humans out of that mixture.
Oh, boy.
As opposed to, like, Nama, a more maternal figure who doesn't get this monstrous rewrite, and the world is made from her body in a less violent way. There's a mythologist named Robert Graves who in the late 1800s, early 1900s, was looking at this mythology, and he said that the newer and changing story of Tiamat's defeat by this male storm god, because it was Marduk at the end, but at other points it was Anu, the sky god, and then Enlil, the god of wind and air. So that the fact that it was a changing male god, that might imply that it represented a shift from a matriarchal to a patriarchal society, and a patriarchal society with many different male leaders coming into power.
Right. Wow.
And so we get that image of a woman, a goddess, whose body is used to make the earth and the universe. She gets this monstrous rebrand, and then the people are like forcefully made from her body. Let's contrast that with Gaia, the Greek personification of the earth, who was a more nurturing figure, but still violent because she loved her children so much she fought wars over them. And also fought wars over them against her grandchildren. So
Right.
Gaia, like Tiamat, like Nama, was a primordial figure. She was one of the protogenoi in Greek mythology. I think I've talked about her before, so I'm not going to go too far into it. But she personified the earth. She physically was. Like she didn't just make it. She didn't oversee it. She was the earth. And then she made the sky, or the atmosphere, which was personified by Oranos, and she made the sea. But all of the land stuff, like the mountains, the trees, the plants, the fauna, like that comes from Gaia.
Right.
Even all of the rivers and the lakes and the clouds and everything that is of the ocean and of the sky, those come from unions with Gaia and Pontus, the primordial sea, and Oranos, the primordial sky.
Right.
So she is the mother of everything. And there are so many stories in like early Greek mythology about the early events in the Greek mythos about Gaia starting wars or overthrowing one of her consorts because people kept treating her children poorly. Like the whole war between the Olympians and the Titans, the reason she supported Zeus in overthrowing Kronos and the Titans was because Kronos was eating his children.
Right.
You know, she's like, that's an offense to motherhood. I don't like that. And so around the world, we see these primordial, nurturing, life-giving goddess figures, and that gets wrapped up into personifying the earth as a maternal figure.
Yeah, the thing that feeds us.
The thing that feeds us, the thing that births us, the thing that welcomes us after we're gone. And in some, there's this, especially like indigenous American understanding of the earth as grandmother earth. And I love the grandmother symbolism too, because with grandmothers, you like have to take care of them too, right? Like there's a give and take. Whereas with your mom, like they're supposed to take,
like mother to daughter is like typically that, like by maybe it would be what unidirectional or bidirectional relationship, but unidirectional. But like a grandmother adds this like cycle to it of like grandmother taking care of the kids and the kid with their kid, but then that generation helping back the grandmother,
right? Like
and
you
the
have to
cycle
help your
of care.
grandmother like get down the stairs or something. Like it's really, I really like that imagery. But you might be asking at this point, is there a daddy nature?
I do wonder, are there which cultures might lean more into that?
There in Norse mythology is Ymir, who is the non-binary version of Tiamat. Odin slays Ymir and turns Ymir's body into Midgard, into the earth, in a very similar way. Like Ymir's skull becomes the vault of heaven, and ribs become like mountains and stuff. So that we have a non-binary parent of nature from Norse mythology, and in Egyptian mythology we do have Geb, who is the god of the earth, and Geb's consort Nut, who is the goddess of the sky, which is really nice because it's like flipped from others. And that means Egyptian mythology is saying like the right way is woman on top. Okay, so that joke's gonna do well in the lecture. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, save room for laughter on that one. So work on your timing. Make sure your timing's good for the next transition.
Okay, will do. Thanks. So then I'm going to transition into talking about the science of the Earth as a rock and not the Earth as a goddess.
Okay.
Because I like,
Bring
the
this
balance.
down to Earth.
Yes.
You can have that one for free if you want it.
Thanks, bestie. So let's do some numbers about Earth. It is the third rock from the sun. Great sitcom. I might have to rewatch that soon. I haven't seen it since I became an astrophysicist, so I think I might have to.
You might have to. Maybe we'll have to just talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Ooh. Okay. I'd much rather talk about that than Ancient Aliens again.
Yeah, let's go the other direction on that one.
So it's the third rock from the sun. It's the fifth largest planet in the solar system. At its widest, the diameter at the equator is 7,926 miles. How many Earths do you think we could fit in the sun, bestie?
In the sun?
Yeah, if you were to take if you could copy paste the Earth volume-wise into the sun.
I'm going to go with several thousand. Maybe in the thousands.
Thousands, okay. Mm-hmm. It's 1.3 million.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm,
okay.
Mm-hmm. So take for a second. That's how big the sun is.
Mm-hmm.
And the sun isn't even that big of a star. I know. But that's how many you could fit in the sun. Earth's mass is 6 times 10 to the 24th power kilograms. That number, I believe, is 6 septillion kilograms. It's hard. I can't tell you. It's actually
septillion is crazy.
I actually can't tell you how much it weighs in pounds because pounds is a measure of force. Oh. It's how much force does your mass create under the Earth's acceleration due to gravity.
Right.
But since the Earth isn't on the Earth, it's experiencing a different acceleration due to gravity, like the sun's or whatever. So I can't really tell you its true weight. But
brain wrinkling, but it's fine.
Yeah. If the Earth were on the Earth, it would weigh 13 septillion pounds. Which is a lot. I looked up what the heaviest thing on Earth, the heaviest human constructed object is, and it's some like oil tanker platform out in the ocean that weighs over 1 million tons.
And that's stuff that was already here?
Yes.
Because that's the other thing, is that it's always already here. Because we're not adding to the weight of the Earth that we didn't get from the Earth.
All of the things that we make that aren't naturally occurring are made with materials from the Earth, so they are not adding any mass to the Earth.
Okay.
However, the Earth is gaining mass. Every single year, literal tons worth of cosmic dust fall onto the Earth. And even though the Earth also loses a lot of material at the top of its atmosphere through atmospheric escape, because the sun's energy excites it and then it evaporates away. So we're losing some mass that way, but ultimately gaining more mass from cosmic dust falling onto us and asteroids and stuff falling onto us. So in a sense, that we are getting replenished with new material, but by and large, what we're using to construct things like oil tanker platforms, that was already here.
Okay. That's crazy.
So, millions of tons is just the weight of one thing on the Earth. So the Earth is quite massive. Its core temperature, if you take all of that mass and you start smushing it into the center, you get high temperatures. And so the temperature at the core of the Earth is almost 8,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow. I'm surprised it was in regular... There was no aliens.
I mean, even stars, like the sun, is like 1 million degrees.
Okay.
Yeah. So at the cores of these planets, you're not going to get into the 6 digits.
Okay.
It does get cooler, obviously, as you move towards the surface because there's less pressure, and so there's going to be less temperature. But let's talk about the structure. I love talking about the structure of Earth because it's just like snowballs. It's just layers of different stuff.
Yeah. Are you going to have the diagram in your slides?
Oh, I will. Yeah, I'll have like the slice.
Yeah. That's always fun because it's always fun to remember the different layers that many of us learned and maybe don't have to pay as close attention to on the daily.
Yes, I'm going to have the slices of the Earth's layers, and then I'm going to have the slices of like geological time in the rock. So there'll be many slices available in the slides. The Earth has roughly 3 different regions. There's the core, the mantle, and the crust, but each of those regions has subregions in it. So there's an inner core and an outer core. The inner core is the solid piece, and it's about 750 miles in radius, so I guess 1,500 miles in diameter. It's 80% iron with some nickel in there, and this is the densest stuff in the Earth, because early on when the Earth was freshly formed and still molten and things could slosh around, the heaviest, densest material fell towards the center because of gravity, and so you get the solid chunk in the middle. We discovered the solid inner core only in 1936.
Oh.
A Danish geologist, her name was Inga Lehmann, and I love that it was like her. She would call herself like the only Danish geologist, which can't possibly have been true.
Huh.
But she was studying seismic waves coming through the Earth, and in 1936 published a paper that claimed for the first time that there was a solid part of the core, because the idea throughout the 1800s was that the inside of Earth was all molten and it was just the crust, the outside, that was solid. So she published this paper in 1936. The title of the paper, by the way, just P apostrophe.
P apostrophe?
The letter P followed by an apostrophe, because it was about P waves, a specific type of seismic wave as opposed to S waves. So she was studying P waves traveling through the Earth and noticed that there were patterns of these P waves reflecting and not just passing right through the Earth. She also, I imagine later, it wasn't in this paper, but later confirmed this because there were no S waves that passed all the way through the Earth. The difference between this P wave and the S wave, I have an image for you in the notes, but the P wave goes horizontally through a medium. It's like a Newton's cradle where the balls are hitting each other and the force goes through the line and back. An S wave is if the balls in the Newton's cradle, like, you visibly saw them waving back and forth because they were moving horizontally or up and down.
Got it.
S waves do not travel through the liquid outer core of the Earth, and P waves will get refracted by the different densities in the core of the Earth. So by studying these different seismic patterns, we were able to confirm that there is a core made of 2 different parts, a solid and a liquid part.
Wow.
The liquid outer core is about 1,400 miles thick, and this is where you get the iron and nickel moving around in a fluid form. It is that motion that is mostly responsible for providing Earth's magnetic field, because you get the magnetic iron and nickel moving past each other. If you have moving charges, then you get an electric current and a magnetic field moving through the space. And because the Earth is also rotating, you get the addition of what we call the Coriolis effect that adds to the dynamo, the geodynamo, which is this like feedback loop of the motion causing a magnetic field and then the magnetic field creating motion that just like keeps itself sustained.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. That dynamo, the Earth's geodynamo, that can reverse polarity. We've seen this in our sun. The sun's north and south magnetic poles will flip. It can also happen on the Earth. It happens every on average 500,000 years, every 500,000 years.
Oh, okay.
But it can be less than that. And we know that this happens because in the early 1900s, geologists started noticing that rocks at certain geological ages, like at certain depths in the geological layer, that their magnetic polarity was opposite ours. So it was like their north and south poles for individual pieces of magnetic rock were flipped from what they are now.
Whoa, that's trippy.
Isn't it?
What if that was the point? Everything changed.
And it's such a chaotic process inside that we can't predict when exactly it will change again. So isn't that the beautiful thing? There are signs that it's going to happen. So it's not like we could be, oh, surprise, the North Pole is south now. No, there's a dramatic decrease in magnetic strength right before and after this happens. So we would have some warning.
Hi everyone, it's me, Moiya. Connie is triple checking the orientation of all our compasses, so I have a couple minutes to share some messages with you. The first message is a merch update. I want to let you know that we are working with K', an amazing artist, to design the blanket and scarf. We have written the Oracle deck, and we just need an artist to help design them, though we've reached out to someone already. And we are working on the best way to construct the lunar calendar. So all of that is still happening, and we will have another update for you by the end of the month. Now, I want to say thank you to all of the patrons who support the show financially every single month. We're an independent podcast. We don't have other sources of funding, and we still need to pay hosting fees and an editor, so we really need and appreciate your support. Thank you so much. And we want to give a special shout out and say thank you to our Sun-like stars, Scott Reynolds, Tom T., Seven Petrichor, Ashley Shambo, Bruce Sedloff, and Kelly Bennell. You're all amazing. Thank you so, so much. If you want to join this awesome group of people by supporting an indie podcast on Patreon, you would get to hear your name on the show, make it onto the patron star chart, and get research notes for most episodes for $5 a month. You can do that at patreon.com/palebluepod. Or if a monthly subscription isn't for you, you can make a one-time donation and become a supernova in the Pale Blue Pod sky at the PayPal link in the episode description. Of course, if you can't support the show financially right now, we totally understand. You're still space, and we love you very much. There are other ways that you could help Pale Blue Pod grow, like rating and reviewing us on whatever podcast platform you use, and sending the link to a specific episode to someone who you think would enjoy it. But no matter what you do, thank you just for listening to the show. Connie and I are honored to be a part of your week. My next message is a recommendation for a podcast called Dreaming Against the Machine. This is Multitude's newest show, and it's a podcast about envisioning a realistic and hopeful future. Each week, the show's host, journalist/astrophysicist/my friend, Dr. Adam Becker, will have an earnest and entertaining conversation with a guest about possible futures, seen through the lenses of history, science, and culture. They just put out an episode about different metaphors for AI with Shannon Valor, who's a philosopher of AI. So check them out wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes of Dreaming Against the Machine come out every Tuesday. All right, Connie says the compasses are all pointing in the right direction. So let's get back to this conversation about the structure of the Earth.
So that's the liquid outer core, and then there's this transition zone to the mantle. The mantle it's like a solid, but as my favorite
It's like a
disaster, it's like a solid. But like my favorite disaster geophysicist Mika McKinnon once said, the mantle's texture is actually more like liquid plastic. It oozes like liquid plastic.
Okay.
Like if you melt plastic down,
Yeah.
that's like the consistency of the mantle.
Huh.
This is the thickest layer of Earth's structure. It's about 1,800 miles thick. It's 84% of Earth's volume. And its composition is more diverse than that of the core. So you find about 45% oxygen, 21% silicon, and 23% magnesium. And the rest is made up of, there's like all the other stuff, carbon, nitrogen. And you see a lot of other heavier elements that are bound up into silicate rocks, like bound to carbon molecules in these carbon oxide chains or silicate oxide chains. And then you get to the crust. I don't really know what else to say to that.
It's like I study the stars, guys.
People have very interesting things to say about the mantle. I am going to let those people say those interesting things. I'm going to go to the crust. We have another transition zone. These transition zones are places where interesting physics can happen. But we get to the crust, which is between 3 and 45 miles thick, depending on where you are. And there are two different types of crust. The ocean crust is going to be thinner but denser. So it's part of why it's thin, because it's so dense, it's packing itself down. And then the continental crusts are going to be much fluffier and thicker. So the crust is broken up into different plates. That's why we have volcanoes and mountain ranges and fun plate tectonics. Mm-hmm. Tectonic meaning that the plates move and shift around.
Right.
Do you know how many plates we have?
Are there 7?
There are 7 major plates.
Major plates.
Yes.
Okay. I feel like I went on a wiki random rabbit hole once and saw some details, but didn't retain much. So yeah, 7 was a number involved. Cool.
Good job, bestie. Yes,
Thanks.
7 major plates, but there are up to 50 minor plates. I have an image in the notes for you.
Thank you.
A rough map of different big plates. And it does kind of trace onto the continents, but not perfectly. The continents move at roughly the same speed that your fingernails grow. Not all of them move at the same rate. And there is a site that I included in the research notes for patrons where you can put in your latitude, longitude, and it will tell you how fast your plate is moving. If you are on most places in North America, then your plate is moving at around like 4 to 5 centimeters per year. But the range is from 1 to 10 centimeters per year.
Moving where, bestie?
Around. Moving to the side. That's what creates the mountains, is when the plates move into each other and they crumple up, and that creates mountains.
Right.
They might move away from each other. That's when you get the East African rift, plates pulling apart from each other. That's how we have the Atlantic Ocean, is continental plates pulling apart from each other and letting the water move in.
Right.
There are parts of the Earth, the surface of the crust, where it's broken and you can see the mantle underneath. Underwater and on land. So it's thinner than we think, this separation between us and the center of the Earth.
Oh, I don't think I knew that. I was wondering how deep have we gone and how deep could we go?
The thickest crust is about 45 miles thick. I imagine that's like what we're drilling into for deep sea type. I don't know.
That's fine.
Not my science. Not my circus. Not my science. Not my circus. So then, from talking about Earth as a rock, I want to move on in the lecture to talking about the formation of this rock. Mm-hmm. So the planet formation process has to start with, really the solar system formation process starts with a cloud of gas that collapses because it's cold and some wind runs through it and it shrinks in on itself, and that creates the protostar at the center and the disk of material around it, the protoplanetary disk. But all of the stuff has to form in that. And as far as we have been able to observe, there is an order, especially for stars like the sun, and we can time out how long it'll take different things to form. So of all of the stuff in the solar system, on the planets, the asteroids, the comets, the sun itself, what do you think was the first to form?
I'm like doing like a sped up version of me trying to remember you telling me about the Big Bang. That's
not going to help, but I'm good.
Not really. No. The first to form the star.
Is that your answer?
Yeah.
If you are only defining star by its ability to fuse hydrogen into helium, so you're discounting the pre-main sequence stars that we're going to be talking about in an episode very soon.
Okay.
No, that does not form first.
Okay.
It takes about 50 million years for a star the mass of our sun to actually ignite hydrogen fusion in its core. Way before that, at about 3 million years, that's when you start getting asteroids.
Oh,
So they're the first to form.
Okay.
And then you get the gas giants that are far enough away from the sun that they can gather ice, and they're massive enough that they can gather that ice and other dust and gas quickly. So they form at about 10 million years. And it takes about 100 million years for rocky planets like the Earth to form because they're lower gravity, so they collect material less quickly, and they're much closer to the sun, which for a long time after it ignites fusion, and even right before that, it's solar wind, which is this like stream of particles coming off of it. It was way stronger in the beginning, in the early solar system. So that wind was really extreme and was blowing away a lot of the material, evaporating it close to the sun. And so it took the terrestrial planets, the 4 inner planets, longer, about 100 million years, to actually form. We have been able to carbon date or like radio date different materials in the crust of the Earth and have determined that the crust has been around for about 4.4 billion years. That's how long it took for the Earth to cool down. So if the sun formed about or the solar system in general, and the sun's protostar formed about 4.6 billion years, and then it took like 100 million years for the coalescence to happen. And impacts to happen, because we think that the moon was formed through this giant impact of a Mars-sized object about 4.5 billion years ago, so about 100 million years after the early formation of the solar system, and then even more time after that for things to cool down and the crust to form. Wow. So planet formation takes a really long time.
Yeah, those are some
years.
Big numbers. Yeah.
And then I'm going to zoom out and start thinking about not the Earth as a lone planet, but Earth as a planet in the solar system. So its orientation to the sun and its moon. So I'll say that we are 93 million miles or about 150 million kilometers away from the sun. I learned it in centimeters. When you are a young astronomer, you learn CGS units, centimeters, grams, seconds. So I learned that the sun is about 1.5 times 10 to the 13th power centimeters away from the Earth on average.
Centimeters?
Centimeters, yes. We study the biggest things and use one of the smallest units of size.
That's wild.
Yes, it is. We're quirky in that way.
Uh-huh. Is it to force like an abbreviate, like just because it, why? Is there a particular reason?
I don't know.
Back to me, bestie.
Yeah, we'll get back to it. I think an episode on units might be too boring, but maybe
That's
we
fair.
could have fun with it. There are some ridiculous units in astronomy. I think we don't use SIs, the standard units, which is meters, kilograms, seconds. So we use these smaller units because even though we're studying big systems are made up of small things. So we still have to talk about ice grains and photon sizes. And so the centimeter might actually be in the middle of the sizes that we consider.
That's, it's like, I hate that it does make sense.
Sometimes it just be like that. So that's 93 million miles on average. We right now have an eccentricity that takes our Earth orbit away from being a circle. So the difference between our closest approach to the sun and farthest approach to the sun is about 5 million miles. And we are tilted. So our axis of rotation isn't straight up and down, but it's tilted by 23.5 degrees, currently pointing at Polaris. We have talked before about the precession, Earth's wobble on its axis, so it won't always point at Polaris, and that cycle takes about 26,000 years. That cycle is one of the Milankovitch cycles, which describe how Earth's orbit and orientation will change over long-term periods. So there's that precession change over 26,000 years, but over about 41,000 years, the angle of our axis changes. So precession doesn't change the angle of our tilt, but it changes where our tilt points to.
Right.
Over
Okay.
41,000 years, the angle will actually change. It'll go between 21.5 to 24.5 degrees. And over even longer time scales, talking like 100 to 400,000 years, Earth's eccentricity changes. This is due to gravitational influence from Jupiter and Saturn. It makes our orbit even more eccentric so that the difference between our closest and farthest approach, that becomes more extreme.
Oh.
And sometimes people use this to justify climate change. They'll be like, oh, but, our space context changes. And like, yes, you can actually trace the ice ages, the different ice ages, to different amounts of solar radiation. That happens over long periods of time. Like I said, 100,000 years for this eccentricity change, tens of thousands of years for the axial precession. What we're experiencing now with climate change, which is where the talk is going, that is happening on much more rapid cycles in the last 200 years, which is extreme.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about how lucky we are that we have an Earth that is so habitable. So I'll list out the different characteristics of Earth that are great for us. We're the right distance from the sun, so we're in the Goldilocks zone or the habitable zone. Our magnetic field protects us from the solar wind. Our magnetic field plus the moon, that protects us from the worst of the asteroid bombardment. We are so lucky to have a moon that causes tides, because early on when life was first forming in the primordial waters, it was the mixing from the tides that let the building blocks of life come together.
At some point during the Artemis mission excitement, I saw a post that said, and you can verify if this is true now, but the far side of the moon is just like so pockmarked and stuff because she's protecting us from space. And I just made me emotional because it's just like our little thing just protecting us from the stuff coming at us. And then to go up there and be able to see it, it's really nice. Okay, that's it.
She's our little sister, but she's like a big sister, like in the image.
Yeah.
She's like hugging us from behind, like protecting us from stuff coming out. Yes,
it's beautiful.
It's true, and it's touching. Yeah. So then I'm going to get into climate stuff, and I'll talk about Mother Earth's health. And like a healthy climate is one that properly balances energy. I have this analogy that I'm working on. So climate change is because we are taking in and trapping more energy than we are like releasing or cycling. And it's like Earth, Mother Nature, is an accountant balancing the energy books, and we humans have been embezzling funds, and it's almost tax season.
Yeah. It just builds up over time, just we kept embezzling. And once you're in the lifestyle, you can't get out of it, like there are ways that you could be going straight, but no, you just want to keep embezzling and live in that same kind of lifestyle, and you don't have to live that way.
Exactly, bestie. You don't have to live that way. That's where the talk is ultimately going.
Excellent.
Because I'm going to have to give some information about climate change and how we have known about the greenhouse effect since 1824. Joseph Fourier, the same mathematician who invented the Fourier transform and the Fourier series, that like interferometry, that when you use multiple telescopes at once, it's based on that. That same guy. He, just to bring it full circle, same guy in 1824 told people about the greenhouse effect.
Wow.
He didn't have that name for it, but we've known about this for a long time. In 1896, a Swedish scientist, Svante Arrhenius, had a great name and also predicted global warming. He said with more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, we are going to experience a global increase in temperatures. In the 60s and 70s, it was made clear that it was human activity putting up pollution and greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, causing an increase in temperatures worldwide. And so people are denying it now, but we've known about this for 200 years.
It's crazy. It's
crazy.
So baffling.
So then I'm going to have this slide that I have for you in the notes. Just because I need to bring some levity back.
It's not all doom and gloom here, as you all know.
No. So I'll have a picture of RuPaul in a gorgeous green dress, and the text will come up, "Call me mother." nature. And then a little quote from the song, none of these bitches is cunty like me, because none of these other planets is cunty like Earth is. And we need to recognize that. So,
I mean, you started with Mother and you had to end with Mother, right?
I had to end with Mother. So I'm going to talk about ways that we have begged Mother's forgiveness in the past through different rituals and sacrifices, and how those methods aren't working anymore because we are pissing Mom off more than our older siblings ever did. So now we have to get more creative with our solutions.
Are we sacrificing the right things?
Yes.
Take
I love that as an
however,
endpoint. I love that.
Take that however
yes.
you mean it.
Thank you. So I'm going to talk about big, like tech and science-based climate success stories. I haven't found all of them yet, but I do know that last year the European Union generated more of its energy through renewable methods like wind and solar power than through fossil fuels. That's fantastic. France, I think, was just heavily involved in creating the largest marine conservation park in the world. I think they said it was like 1.5 million square kilometers. So good things are happening.
Yay.
And conservation work is being done. And then I want to end with not to be like, oh, we have to take personal responsibility, because nothing we do as individual people can make a dent in what corporations are doing.
Absolutely.
But I do want to ask if anyone has personal favorite ways that they commit to being kind to Mother Nature. So do you have any personal favorite ways, Bestie?
I think I've lately been trying to just appreciate nature and include it more into my home. My dog does not really like that idea, but we've been, trying to work it out. And I've been trying to, I've been getting out into the sun at least. But I think it's more about just like including it into my everyday and remembering to care for something green and that comes from the earth, and getting my hands into it too, to kind of connect me to the earth. Yeah.
It's important to do things that are just for the earth and not about what the earth is doing for you.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
So, my favorite way to care for Mother Nature is not using ChatGPT or any other generative AI.
That's a great one.
I love turning off lights. I love composting.
Right.
Not when it's a toilet. Not when it is a composting toilet, but I do love composting my food and small apartment garden waste. So behind the scenes, a little Moiya nugget. I did grow up in a log cabin in the middle of the woods with a composting toilet that was not cleaned. So that's a me thing. I hope other people do enjoy properly maintained composting toilets.
Please properly maintain.
Going on walks.
I do that.
Yes.
That felt more about me though. I'm working on it.
Well, it's not like a hot girl walk. It's going on walks instead of like taking a motorbike or a car when you can, or it's taking a train instead of a plane when you can.
Yes.
Or So those are some of my personal favorite ways. I'm going to invite the students in the audience, in the lecture audience, to share some of their personal favorite ways. And maybe others around them will be inspired to take up some new actions.
Indeed. Maybe Moiya can share some great ideas that you hear at the lecture and report back to us.
I will report back. But yeah, that is the general vision I have for the lecture. Is there anything you would add or any questions you still have?
No, that was great. I loved being able to go all the way back to our earliest concepts of the earth with our mythology, and then going all the way to what we can do to help our grandmother earth, because as you said earlier, the grandmother part of the cycle really helps us to remember to care for those that came before us, and hopefully that energy lets us care for the earth.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great note to end on. No matter what your personal favorite way to care for the earth is, you are part of it, which means you are space.
Pale Blue Pod is hosted by Dr. Moiya McTier and Connie Gibbs. Moiya created the show with the funny and talented Karine Caputo with help from the Multitude Productions team.
Our theme music is by Evan Johnston, our cover art by Shay McMullen, and our audio editing is handled by the superlative Misha Stanton.
Stay in touch with us and the universe by following @PaleBluePod on Instagram or check out our website, palebluepod.com.
I, Moiya, am Go Astro Mo on all socials.
And I'm @ConStar24 on Instagram.
If you want to support our show, join our community at patreon.com/palebluepod or send this episode to your family and friends group chats.
We're a member of Multitude, an independent podcast collective and production studio. If you like Pale Blue Pod, you will love the other shows that live on our website at multitude.productions.
Thanks for listening to Pale Blue Pod. We'll be back next week.